Very good evening, everybody. Namaskar. I am Dr. Sanjay Kumar Manjul, presently working as Joint Director General in Archaeological Survey of India. Earlier, I was holding charge of Institute of Archaeology as a director. Uh, as you know, Institute of Archaeology is a premier institution for archaeology. I feel privileged that I was able to work across the country during my various assignment given by my department as a as an holding various posts like superintending archaeologist, director, and now joint director general. I have participated in various excavation uh, across the country uh, and also excavated under my direction itself. Uh, One of the site that is my first explored and excavated site during the tenure of my student life at Institute of Archaeology at factory cum quarry site at Dhalavira. That was a breakthrough for my career. After completion of my postgraduate diploma in archaeology, uh, I have joined in 1999 in Archaeological Survey of India and worked in a various capacity. Another, I'd like to share that my important excavation in various places like during the posting of in Northeast, I have done a small scale excavation at Ambari and unearthed around 2nd century BCE for the first time in entire Northeast. Uh, and after that, during my posting at Patna circuit in ASI, I have done 2, 3 very important sites in UP like Sakradi, Lakia, and participated in Maner, Vaishali, Raja Vishal Kagar, related to Neolithic to early historic period. After that, when I was posted in Institute of Archaeology, I tried to revive our large scale excavation it owned by Institute of Archaeology to impart the training to the student of postgraduate diploma in archaeology, and also I have started inviting the university students and scholars to participate in the excavation. So during that, I have taken an excavation at Binjore, that is in Ganganagar district in Rajasthan, just very close to the Pakistan border, around 5 kilometers away from Pakistan border in aerial distance. That site is given a very promising results uh, related to Harappan culture. Dated back to 5000 BC to 1900 BCE, uh, almost continuous sequence without any break from early Harappan to transitional period to early to mature Harappan and also the late mature phase. That is the only exclusive industrial site related to Harappan civilization. We have exposed more than 250 fireplaces Hello. Okay. So then I'll start again. Okay. Okay. Sorry for some interruption in the voice. During my excavation at Binjore, that is outstanding results provided actually revealed from Binjore excavation. That's threefold culture basically. One is early Harappan and then transitional phase of early to mature Harappan and mature Harappan and late mature phase of Harappan. So that's the entire culture sequence we got there from 5000 BCE to 1900 BCE. That's the only site known or ever excavated in Harappan context that has 200 more than 250 hearth we have excavated in very small area because more than 50% of mound is already destroyed and cut uh, earlier by various activity, human activity. So it's a small site, but given us a very good uh, results. Not only the only hearth of industrial site, but we got the continuous evolution of pottery from early Harappan to mature phase, and even the late mature phase. So entire continuity we have there in the site at Bijor. Apart from that, the evolution of seals from very tiny button seal to geometrical pattern, thin pendant seal, and then again seal with letter and s- animal figurine, and then only the letter converted into sometime terracotta seal also. So the entire evolution at one side in the context of archaeological context never reported in any of the site in single mound. So that was the outstanding achievement of that excavation. And apart from that, we have done exploration from Suratgarh to border of Pakistan uh, in Ganganagar. Uh, uh, so we have re-explored many sites and tried to identify and some through some trial trench to reconstruct the cause of decline at the site of Rajasthan itself. Uh, after that, uh, in the next season, we have taken uh, task to excavate a very well-known site called Barnaba in Bagpat district. Barnaba is known for a Mahabharata period of Varnavat. Uh, so that site is also very promising, very high deposit of multicultural deposit there, and we got the horizontal excavation. We have done a horizontal excavation at the site and try to understand the PGW culture and their lifestyle in particular that site. And during that excavation, we have done a lot of exploration around that site and all as well uh, in whole district of Bagpat. Mm, And in that exploration, we try to take a trial digging at Sanoli itself. Sanoli was excavated earlier also by Archaeological Survey of India in 2005-6 uh, and revealed 116 burial under the direction of Dr. D.V. Sharma, the then Superintending Archaeologist, Archaeological Survey of India. And 116 burial is was sorry, 116 burial in different nature they have reported in the excavation, like extended burial, symbolic burial, and fragmentary burial also, and the trough for burning of dead body. Along with, uh, as they have reported that this is uh, related with the late Harappan, as well as the copper hoard object has also been revealed in the at the site. So that is very very enigmatic. Uh, Whether it's related with late Harappan or copper hoard, or there is amalgamation, what are the position of that site? So that is very important to understand. So we try to take, and we have taken a small scale excavation, basically trial trench. One trench we have taken almost 120 meter away from the earlier excavated site. And you know, uh, the results uh, we have received or we have unearthed from the site is really amazing and promising. And also, you can see in my PowerPoint presentation that the site is given the small excavation, scale excavation, has enumerated really a very good data for understanding of our Chalcolithic culture in regional context as well as the zonal context, and also how to understand the Harappan culture as well as the contemporary Chalcolithic culture in Ganga Yamuna Doab or Ganga Valley. So, in nutshell, this is the background of the excavation of Sanoli. And before going in the presentation, I would like to thank and acknowledge my co-director, Dr. Arvind Manjul, the then superintending archaeologist in Archaeological Survey of India in excavation branch. Uh, so, and the entire team. Not only the excavation team, but because we try to do the multidisciplinary approach for understanding of site. So there is a lot of other person like uh, hospital at Bagpat, uh, Medicity Hospital at Bagpat, and the doctors of that hospital, and Deccan College, Sate Saab, Prabodh, and Birbal Sahni Institute for DNA analysis, and Agnihotri, Dr. Pokhariya, and many of them, and also for technical support for drone recording and lidar survey, and Durham University, who has done the GPR survey and magnetometer survey at the site. And there is a lot of colleagues associated with us and in that excavation. So I would like to thank all of them for providing me the lot of data for understanding in various aspect, various point of view. And actually, really, that was the turning point of understanding of Indian culture. And basically, the approach of excavation and results of excavation and post uh, result like lifting of artifact and other object from the site and brought to Delhi for future researches and display for the public. So that was the nutshell of background. Then you can follow my presentation, live presentation, to see the photograph of excavation and also the statistic findings and interpretation further, so on. Thank you very much. I think. Yes, sir, you're not live. You can start. Uh, yes, sir. All set. You can start, sir. Okay, sure. Again, again, excavation at Sonoli. I have given the title of my presentation is a turning point of Indian archaeology, excavation at Sonoli. So why I am given this title? That this finding is a turning point of Indian archaeology. So 1 minute, I think there is issue. Hello. Hi. Yes. Now it's a clear. Uh, ex- ex- uh, Today I'm going to speak on the finding of Sanoli. This uh, entire finding is set an parameter of a recent excavation at Sanoli. And I have given the title "A Turning Point of Indian Archaeology." So, first of all, the Sanoli is situated in Yamuna Hindan Doab in Tehsil Baraut, district Bagpat of western Uttar Pradesh, merely 68 kilometer to the northeast of Delhi. The modern village called Sadikpur Sanoli. It's a very small village, around 7 to 8 kilometer away from the river Yamuna. And why this Sanoli is outstanding related to the finding of archaeological finding. So I have divided into threefold. One is scientific investigations at the site, and the solitary discovery from Sanoli that is not reported anywhere in Indian subcontinent. And third one is preservation of excavated remains. And so there is three segment. We have achieved outstanding results. First, the scientific investigation. Apart from the traditional technique of excavation, we have done in very innovative way of excavation in very small area by 10 by 10 meter area at the site. Obviously, it's a horizontal excavation that is not vertical, but vertical and horizontal both mix at the site. And the general excavation method and recording system and the traditional method of pottery drawing, drawing of excavated remains, plan drawing, elevation drawing, general photography, etc. We have done the X-ray at the site and at the lab also, and also CT scan of some of the remains. We have done the CT scan also, and we have done GPR survey and magnetometer for understand the extension of the site and whether the similar kind of remains were there in the nearby cultivated field or not. So the result is really very, very promising and good. There is lot of remains is still there in the close by agricultural field. And again, the photogrammetry, we have done the photogrammetry at the site for giving the contouring at 20 centimeter contouring, and the verification of layout and the live longitude, latitude, elevation, etc. And also the video recording at the top. So we have another equipment we have used, that is 3D scanning in from Leica and other company also. That is very, very good for understanding of elevation and measurement, digital measurement of each and every object and excavated remains and all that. Then we have done for instant identification of metals and all that, the handheld XRF at the site itself. So these are the some of the new ideas we tried at the excavation uh, at the site itself, not after that. So during the excavation, that was a very good result, has given lot of idea to how to excavate the site and how to expose those uh, critical and fragile artifacts at the site. So resulted the many important discovery at the site, like war chariots, copper decorated shield, whip and torch, antenna sword with hilt. These are the solitary example in Indian context. Bow and arrowheads, helmet, unique coffin burials. These are the some of the bullet or example, but there is a lot of new example at the excavation itself. And the third segment, preservation of excavated remains, because the entire remains is very, very fragile in the nature, like the timber of furnitures and the coffin and the copper object. These are the very, very fragile in the nature. So in situ preservation during the excavation itself is needed, because we don't want to lift in isolation. So we have done uh, the preservation in situ at the site with the uh, chemicals and preservative, and then proceed for another excavation. And after the excavation, exposition of the artifacts, we have done the preservation of entire site with the different methodology, uh, and then again lifting with the context. The important thing, the lifting with the context of those objects or artifact from the site. So that was the in situ position, and we have lifted in situ uh, the entire thing with preservation. And another challenge was transportation of that object to Delhi or Institute of Archaeology, because almost 70 kilometer at the site there is no such good road and vehicle to brought to Delhi. So we have successfully done all those things. And again, the post excavation is important, because we have done the entire thing in situ from the site. So we have done the little bit excavation and exposition at the institute itself, uh, for the training of the institute student of institute, as well as taking of samples and exposition, whichsoever we think that this part is not properly excavated. So these three things is very very important and having outstanding in the nature. uh, what is the result of that? So in the next slide, you can see the wooden legged coffin with copper sheathing, foiling and decoration we got at the site. One coffin decorated with 8 anthropomorph at the top of the coffin. That is, you can say, the cover or lid of the coffin, and remains of 3 chariot in two different burial, helmet, and shield, along with the burial goods and other weaponry. Two unique legged coffin with the statite inlay in entire coffin structure. That is also very very unique in the nature. So, and then another interesting finding is sacred chamber. uh, this is underground chamber, and half underground and half possibly overbuilt, that is not exposed, or that is not remain there. And again, fiance and copper pot, a small copper pot of copper pot, and also one pot is fiance. And interestingly, in earlier excavation and exploration, habitation site was not traced. So we have explored the habitational site, and also we have done excavation of at that site, and multiple furnaces were revealed at the site that shows the uh, organized settlement near the necropolis of Sanoli. So these are the very very important finding of that. Why the finding of Sanoli are so important, and that will change the entire thought process of earlier archaeology and historical perspective. Uh, Actually, if you see, the discovery of Sanoli provided long-awaited missing link of Rig Vedic culture, which has a great intellectual personality. But unfortunately, there were no archaeological remains to correlate directly with the Rig Vedic culture. So first, this point, uh, however, the Harappan culture and Rigvedic society is compared by many of the scholars in Indian context, but there is no concrete evidence, we can say, to relate with the Rigvedic society, because Rigvedic society known for the chariot, weapons, and warriors uh, also. So that is the reason earlier the thought process of Rigvedic society was not directly related with the excavated remains. Apart from that the problem of horse and chariot is prevailing a long debate to relate with the Rigvedic people. So this excavation provided a very very concrete evidence to understand our Charkolithic culture and to relate with the Rigvedic society. Weaponry as a burial goods clearly indicates grave of warrior class, which can be compared with the various citation of warfare mentioned in the ancient literatures. even in the epics like Mahabharata, Ramayana, and other stories also. Sonoli provided many solitary examples of Indian archaeological context, but finding of complete chariot is the paradigm shift in Indian archaeology and history also, because chariot is the focal point of the entire understanding of Vedic society as well as the world context, how the migration happened, or the invention of chariot or innovation of the war chariot. That is the key point for understanding of culture around 2000 BCE or so on. And also the development of early historic culture in Ganga Valley as well as the other part of subcontinent. So the chariot is very, very important finding in the excavation. So in this presentation, I'd like to show you the chariot in larger scale, and the other finding, just to show you the other finding, also the entire burial system for understanding of the cultural context of the chariot. So uh, I have pointed out some of the problem of Indian archaeology and history also. Who were the Aryans? Aryan migration invasion theory, archaeology of Mahabharata, OCP copper hoard culture of Ganga Yamuna Doab, which is still enigmatic uh, and very, very problematic to understand the cultural context of the copper hoard, because there is a lot of stray finding uh, already reported in various places in Ganga Valley as well as the Himachal, Haryana, Rajasthan, and other places also. But the cultural context yet to be determined by the in any of the excavation properly. However, the OCP uh, 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 was already related relates by any of the many of the scholars that the OCP and copper hoard culture is the same, uh, because some of the site yielded copper object along with the OCP. And the problem is understanding of so-called Harappan, late Harappan particularly, term of late Harappan, because it's a regional variation in many of the places, and that is based on the variation of the pottery or evolution or stylistic change of the pottery. But we have to understand the holistic approach of understanding of late Harappan with the cultural other cultural element also. Uh, yes, the worship tradition in the iconographic form. So, as you know, our worship tradition in iconographic form related to second century or third century BCE, not before that. But we have the concrete evidence with the OCP copper hoard culture at Sanoli and other places also. Uh, so these are the points we have to rethink and reassess our entire archaeological in archaeological context and rethink those things. This is the overview of the site. You can see very well the landscape is entire landscape is so flat. You cannot see the elevation anywhere at the site. So the it's a highly cultivated land, very fertile area, having sugarcane cultivation in entire site. So that is the reason most of the site has already been destroyed by local villagers. and brick kilns makers. So you can see the outstanding finding of 2005-6 by Dr. D.B. Sharma, the extended burial, and you can see the eight shape, the copper object, and below that also uh, uh, a statite inlaid object, unique object, and this skeleton having the gold ornament in the hand, and the neck portion also the gold and copper ornament, and some carnelian bead and other beads or and ornaments. So these are the outstanding finding in during 2005-6 reported by Dr. D.B. Sharma. Now come to 2018-19 excavation, as well as sorry, 17-18 and 18-19 excavation. So this is the overview, aerial view of the excavation. You can see the excavated remains at the site. The pit size, you can see the pit size, and also first this is sacred chamber, and this is pit number 10, pit number 6, pit number 9, pit number 8, and so on. This is pit number 3. So see the setting of the entire graveyard, but in these trains, nothing were there in these trenches. So that's a very, very interesting part to understand the burial process and the remaining, why the remaining area is not having any of the remains at that area. So we can discuss, or we can say that uh, why that area is vacant. Maybe for the public gathering, or maybe they have uh, uh, only designated this place for the royal burial, possibly. So this is the interesting part of the unburied area, and also the systematic burial area. A total 10 burials were excavated at the site. Among that, the 5 burial is under the wooden coffin, in which number 3 and number 6 containing copper sheathing all around the coffin structure, and also the weaponry and chariot also. In number 6 having 2 chariot, number 3 having 1 chariot. Burial number 1, 9, and 10 are highly decorated with statite inlays. 3 secondary burial also unearthed, 1 twin burial and 2 symbolic burial we got in the excavation. So within 10 burial, there is 3 variety at all. If you see in the larger scale, the burial system in Chalcolithic period, burial with dead body in extended or supine position, burial with extended body kept in the coffin, burial containing partial human bones, burial contains goods and corporeal remains, probably in the container, burial contains burial goods offered belong to the departed soul. So these are the process you can see in the various excavation, as well in Harappan context or other Chalcolithic site. So see the nature of burial number 1. This is in supine position, and at the header side you can see the cluster of pots uh, in the form of flask, and the basins and the bigger pots, bowl, etc., and the header side. Uh, this is, you can see very well. I think it's a visible at all. This is comb, having bull-headed comb. Sorry for interruption due to the thunderstorm. Uh, the network has gone, in fact. So now again come to the burial number one. In 2008, 17, 18 and 18, 19 excavation, we got the 10 burials uh, at the site. We have excavated 10 burials, and all those burials are unique in the nature. Now we come to the burial number one. Burial number one is extended burial, uh, having a skeleton in supine position, and then head side you can see the cluster of pots and the head side, including flask, bowl, and deep basin, uh, and the northern portion of the skeleton, you can see the dish on a stand, and over that one dagger, copper dagger. Of actually, it's a blade shoulder or dagger, we can say, having the wooden hilt on in this uh, placed over this dish on a stand. And just close to that, if you see, this is copper channel. The copper channel is actually half channel. This is not a full rounded channel. So it's still not known that the use of this channel. So if you see this part, this is a comb having uh, the stylized bull at the top, and some semi-precious stone and all that, that is, and one gold bead also we have recovered in this burial pit. So this burial, this is actually coffin burial, but the outer of the coffin burial and leg is fully decomposed. So we have not excavated in full coffin at all side. So, but the statistic of the burial clearly shows that this is the coffin burial, and similar to the other burial, we have already excavated in burial number 6 and burial number 3. So the another interesting burial is burial number 3. Burial number 3 is having the very elaborate burial, having coffin, and that coffin is look like a cot. If you see the entire structure of the coffin is look like a leg, all four leg having the copper sheet sleeve all around, or you can say the seating all around. Not only the all four leg, but the body of the coffin, the structure of the coffin from outside and the inside also provided the copper seating, copper plating on that. So unfortunately, top of the coffin or top of the top portion, lid or cover is fully destroyed by the villagers earlier. So we have not yet traced the full skeleton inside, that is displayed here and there. Some bones, some part of a skull and other part of the human skeleton we have already collected over the coffin. So apart from that, the if you see the burial good, we got one chariot and whip, uh, sorry, torch and antenna sword, and the shield and the helmet from this burial. So that is very interesting burial, having the silver foil, maybe wrapped on stick, one of the stick top and all that, and then copper channel just beneath the coffin burial. We got this. So if you see the top view, you can understand the placing of all those burial goods very meticulously, very systematically. Uh, See the eight shape or torso shape shield. This is shield. Interestingly, identified as a shield, which is earlier identified as a copper container, but I can show you the CT scan result, and then we have determined that this is not a container, but this is actually shield, and found along with the other weaponry like torch, we can call mashal, and also antenna sword, and then helmet, copper helmet, bowl like helmet, and the decorated chariot, copper channel, and all that. So this is very, very interesting burial. So if you see the detail of the wheel, having 3-row decoration of the copper inlay in triangular inlay in all side. This is inside of the inside of the wheel. So you can see the central hub for connecting the axle part from one to another wheel. Uh, so this is highly decorated in the inside as well as the outside of the wheel. So this is the decoration over the top of the torso shaped shield. Uh, the copper strips, and within that square you can see the flower design, or you can say the cross design in between. So this is the decoration at the top of the shield. So this shield is placed over the pole itself at angle. So after removing the shield and other things, other artifacts, we got this chariot pole below that, and also along with the yoke of the chariot. So and the pole and yoke having similar decoration as you have seen in the chariot itself, the triangular design or triangular inlay, all in the chariot pole and yoke also. So that is the reason we got the NC2 shape and size of the pole, yoke, chariot wheel, and the chassis also of the chariot. So now we try to reconstruct in an actual shape and size and a statistic of the coffee chariot. So another interesting burial of burial number 5, we have understand that this may be the symbolic burial because we do not having any skeletal remains in this burial. We got two set of the pot and two antenna sword and two copper channel. So if you see the detail of the antenna sword, this is the solitary example in entire copper hood object recovered anywhere of Indian subcontinent. If you see the hilt within the uh, antenna, that's a unique one, having the copper strip covered all around the hilt. So that's the interesting part of the technology and the craftsmanship of the uh, they have done, how they have done the weaponry in that. So another interesting one is burial number 6. Burial number 6 is elaborate coffin we got in the burial number 6. If you see the top of the coffin, lid of the coffin, having the high relief decoration on that of 8 anthropomorphic figure, along with possibly the uh, uh, insignia or royal symbol at the head site. Uh, so we try to understand that whether this is coffin or not, because size is unusual, 8.5 feet long decoration or long panel we got at the top of the surface. So fortunately, we have excavated a little bit of the human skull below this decoration. and the contour, if you see the decomposition of the entire top of the cover over the body, so the contour of that is just like decompose over the human skeleton. So the medial part is, or the pelvic part, having the deeper or more depression uh, uh, in comparison with the head part. So this is the interesting finding. If you see the coffin, the first we have visualized without leg coffin, but later on we got the leg, decorated leg with copper all around. And also the side wall of the coffin was also having the high relief decoration, high relief carving, and over that they have provided copper uh, with the help of tiny nails of copper. That's interesting. And if you see the header side, we have shown some of the pot inside of the coffin. So because that area is higher than the other area and having 1.5 feet distance from the skull, so that may contain some of the precious materials inside, which is yet to be determined or yet to be excavated. So the entire coffin is very, very unique, uh, and the even the technological part is better than anywhere found coffin in the world. So the technology and craftsmanship is unparalleled in the entire world context. So see, this is the view of another view of excavated that coffin, having decoration at the top and the side wall also having the geometrical design in high relief. And below the coffin we got one copper chalice having turtle base and one helmet and the copper channel and one shield also at the side, but that is not uh, exposed fully because already been fully decomposed, so it's not possible to recover that seal, but remains were there in the at the burial itself. So this is the reconstruction of the burial procession with along with the burial number 6 coffin. So see the leg also having the decoration of triangular design and the copper strip all around, and the top of the or lid of the coffin having decoration of anthropomorphic figure and all that. And whatever you are seeing in the hand of the people, that is already recovered in the same pit burial also. So that we try to reconstruct that this type of procession was uh, there in. Now come to the burial number 7 and burial number 6. Both the burial is very, very interesting. One of the independent burial we got in the dog burial, and dog burial is also the similar kind of burial process we have recorded. If you see the copper statite inlays all around the burial, maybe this is decorated at the top of the wooden box. Because we done the CT scan of this burial and we got 1.5 centimeter thick wood below that uh, dog burial. That is along with the usual burial pottery in this pit also. So this is another interesting finding of this Sonoli. And if you see the below, this is twin burial having two skeletal remains, but all the bones were not there because that's collected from another place and buried in the same box uh, in this pit. So if you see the string, a multiple string of statite bead that is there in this along with this burial also, burial group. Now in 2019, we have exposed two burials, burial number 9 and burial number 10, along with the sacred chamber. So both the burial is very, very unique, and we have managed to expose the astatite inlay all around in the leg of the coffin, as well as in the outside wall of the coffin. The meticulous copper inlays in geometrical pattern we are able to expose in this burial. So it was a very, very difficult task to expose the inlays part, because it's a few centimeter inlay only in the and the entire structure of the coffin, wooden structure, is already been decomposed or perished and converted into the soil and mud. Uh, the sacred chamber is another interesting finding if you see the 8 cores of the brick uh, provided inside of the pit wall to veneered those pit, and maybe for construction of superstructure at the top. Inside of the pit or inside of that structure, you can see the two-tier structure. The lower one possibly for using of uh, rituals after the dead or before burying of the skeleton. The burial number 9 is another interesting burial. You can see burial number 9, the head side, after this cluster of pot at the head side, we got impression of a decomposed bow, and along with the 4 arrowheads of bone arrowheads. So this is another interesting finding. If you see the shape of the bow is like that. This is fully decomposed one. So this is another interesting finding in burial number 9. So sacred, if you see the top view of the sacred chamber having two tier, and we try to reconstruct, or if you see the inside, one modern coffin, we try to place one modern coffin to see the use of the structure, possible use of this structure within that. So the interestingly, if you see the brick size is 50 to 50 52 to 50, and thickness is 8 to 7 centimeter, and breadth is 32 to 30. That is not a Harappan ratio. That's another interesting size. If you see the early historic brick, maybe the similar pattern they have followed in the early historic period also. So this is very interesting finding to understand the whole burial complex in holistic view, and try to reconstruct the entire process of or burial system at that period. So if you combine the 116 burial which is excavated earlier in 2005-6, and the 10 burials excavated in this excavation also, so we try to reconstruct the whole scenario and burial process and the cultural context also. Now come to the focal point of the excavation, that is chariot, because the finding of chariot is the turning point of Indian archaeology and history also, because the whole thought process of chariot, weapons, and horse coming from the west is now rethink on that. Uh, if you see the usual chariot, war chariot is two-wheeled open vehicle, may be driven by one person or two person. The wheel rotated on the fixed axle that was linked by a long pole to the small yoke of a pair of animal. The axle was attached with a superstructure consisting of the platform protected by side screen and a high dashboard. The wheel, pole, and yoke are solid and found decorated with the copper triangles. So this is the if you see the usual thought process about the chariot is oftenly associated with the ancient Egyptian civilization. It became a prominent weapon of war. In fact, it is often considered a super weapon of the ancient world. Some have speculated that the chariot was introduced in Indian subcontinent, the invading Hyksos, although there is no factual evidence to support this claim. This history of chariot, however, stretched back more than a millennium prior to this introduction of ancient Egypt. If you see the Indian context of the chariot, particularly in the Sanoli, we got the whole component of a structure. If you see the chassis part of the chariot having the copper seating all around and copper hub, which will attach with the axle and the pole, and also the chhatra or the super dashboard, and the chhatra or flag maybe. So the entire component you can see, and also the sockets, nails, and then copper structure and the dice board. So we have done what we have done. We have done the CT scan of this entire mud, and we got very interesting impression of decomposed carvings on that. So that will give us the idea that the entire dashboard also having the carving on wood. So this is another interesting part. Uh, the various view of the chariot and the coffin and the situation of that. You can see the chassis and the twin chariot. One chariot is here and another chariot is here. This is the outer wheel and this is the inner hub or inner side of the wheel. So both side of the wheel is uh, uh, both side of the wheel are decorated, very much decorated. So uh, on the basis of the finding, we try to reconstruct the chariot. If you see the outer wheel, also having the copper triangles in 3 row, and then inner wheel also having the copper decoration in 3 row. So we have done the statistic of the chariot. If you see, this is the reconstruction of the chariot, and the structure and the superstructure or the top structure of dashboard, you can very much reconstruct. This is the closer view of the chariot wheel. You can see the triangle design, copper inlays in the wheel. These are the closer view of socket frame for the side screen, and very interestingly, we got the copper sheathed wooden whip in the excavation. That is very clearly indicating that this has the socket for the leather strip also. So this is in fact, this is the chabuk for charioteers they using on the animal. If you go to the world context of the chariot, so in Indian context also, first we try to understand in the Indian context, there is plenty of literary references available regarding chariot in ancient India. Rig Veda, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and so on. But in true sense, there were no archaeological evidence ever discovered to reconstruct and create synergy between archaeological research and linguistic record. Chariot were part of the social life of Vedic people and mentioned in various uses such as warfare, rituals, carriage, procession of elite class, etc. In Mahabharata, chariot was the important essential device for battle. A detailed account has been given about the charioteers and warriors in Mahabharata. The elite warriors, in fact, always fought on the chariot. The importance of chariot and charioteers was very high, as you see the Lord Krishna himself acted as a charioteer in the battle of Mahabharata. The chariot or rathas was generally a two-wheeled vehicle, as we have shown you, consisting of shaft or two shaft sometime also, but this is a one shaft chariot. It was drawn by two animal, either in the ox or in the horse, and the size and shape of the carriage could be vary depending on the use of the carriage. The body of carriage rested on the rack or base. In Sanskrit, many terms were mentioned of Nida, nest, Kosa in Rig Veda. The body of carriage had a higher front, the Ratha Shirsa, or two side wall, the chariot, especially with the wagon called Anas, and the chariot called Rathas. Uh, uh, the various part such as wagon roof, shelter, wheel, axle, shaft uh, has Sanskrit term also. Like shaft has paridhi, axle had aksa, and wheels had chakra. To compare with, to have description mentioned in the Vedic and epic rams, there were no contemporary archaeological evidence available. However, a large number of terracotta wheel toys were found from the several Harappan sites and identifies as a cart. The structure of carts varies in shape and size. The wheel were also found in the solid structure. Sometimes spoke were also depicted through painting, and in one example embossed also. But these all are toy carts, are not classified in accordance with their structure, whether they were lighter or heavier vehicle, and what were their uses. On the basis of overall structure, their uses can be reclassified. As in the Vedic literature, we are getting many references of wagon and chariots in which they were defined according to their uses. As you know, in the early historic period, there were many literary as well as the physical evidence we got. But in the contemporary world, if you see the Mesopotamian chariot, the earliest example excavated in the excavation at Ur in Mesopotamia, uh, in the standard of Ur having this depiction of the procession along with the chariot. But this is four-wheeled chariot having the heavier structure. Uh, but yes, that is shown in the procession, and then last one is very look like a depiction of warfare. So it's treated as a weapon of war at that time, that is dated back to the 3000 BCE. That's the first example we got in the chariot, but this is not a true sense of the chariot, of war chariot, which is a smaller and lighter one. But if you see the Egyptian chariot, a depiction of Egyptian chariot having a spoked wheel of six or four spokes in the lighter form. But Mesopotamian chariot is heavier, like a wagon. Roman chariot is very later, contemporary to our early historical chariot, but it's a very having showing similarity of the chariot of Sanoli. But the Sanoli is very early, having a solid wheel. But in the historical period, or almost 17th, 16th century BCE, they have started the spoke wheel chariot. So this is the true sense of the chariot with solid wheel. First time we got in the Sanoli excavation in entire world context, in comparison with the entire world context. There is no such chariot with the solid wheel having smaller structure like the Egyptian and the later chariot we got in another place. So it's a very, very interesting part to evolution of the chariot from the wagon and other two-wheeled cart or uh, 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 of Harappan and other Chalcolithic site. So this is very crucial point to understand the evolution of the chariot, indigenous evolution of the chariot. Another interesting part, the chhatras, attachment for the chhatra pole, that is very indigenous development of the chariot, that is not there in the Egyptian chariot or any other chariot. So that's another interesting development you can see in the chariot. So the earlier speculation that the chariot came from the west, from steppe to travel Hindu Kush, and they brought to the India in 14th, 15th century BCE, that is not there. So this is the crucial point for understanding of our literature, of Vedic literature, as well as the archaeological finding in concern with the chariot and the society, complex society of the chariot also, because chariot related to the very, very complex system and organized society, because the horse breeding or the craftsmanship or the management of the chariot or management of the war very clearly show the organized system of the culture. See the Hittite chariot having a little bigger than this, having six spoke, and the very similar kind of shield they have in the hand of one of the warrior. So in the Daimavad, we got in the same, almost in the same contemporary period, the chariot, model of the chariot of almost in the similar structure. The chariot of Chinese chariot having very heavy vehicle or very heavy structure of the Chinese chariot. You can see the chariot of Ramses is lighter, having four spoke in Egyptian chariot. So if you see the in Harappan context, whether the true war chariot were there or not, so it's a time to rethink about that, whether as the Mesopotamian chariot, they are using in the both the similar cart in the war also, war field, as well as carriers of material. So possibly in the Harappan also using the similar kind of card in both the things, and later on that is developed in the war chariot. See the various type of structure clearly shows the various use of the card. Uh, so the lighter one also, the heavy structure also they have. So the various kind of structure they have of chariot, and if even you can see the wheel, the development of the solid wheel, and also depiction of a spoke on the wheel. So that clearly show the indigenous development of the wheel also in the Harappan period. So at the time of around 2000 BCE, possibly the chariot evolved as a war chariot in this area, particularly in the Upper Ganga Yamuna Doab, with the copper hoard culture, OCP culture, or possibly in the contemporary Harappan also. So if you see the whole structure we have excavated of chariot, see the pole and the whole structure of chariot, and we try to reconstruct those things in my drawing. See the side screen having very meticulous decoration and all around the side screen and the wheel and the pole also. Possibly it's driven with the horse. Why I'm saying that this may be pulled by double horse? Because if you see the pole is the having very slim, and the yoke is smaller than and lighter than the chariot or cart you can find with the ox or bull. So this is and we try to do the statistic also of the chariot that very clearly show that it's a horse chariot, not a bull chariot. So if you again see the Rigvedic context, there is mentioned in the wood also the Salmali and Khadira and Simsapa. These are the three variety of timber that is exclusively for making of chariot were there in the Rigveda Sukta also. In later on, the Sulabh Sutras are also giving the measurement and configuration of the chariot, etc. The chariots also featured prominently in the later text, including Puranas and Ramayana, Mahabharata, which have already been discussed. Uh, if you see the Hindu pantheon, the Usha and Agni and other god associated with the chariot itself. So that's a very, very interesting. And if you see the in historical perspective, in the depiction on the railing of Bodh Gaya and the Sanchi, we have very, very similar type of chariot you can see, but this is bigger than that. But if you see the whole structure is very similar. But yes, this is spoke wheel, multiple spoke wheel, later on developed spoke wheel, and the structure is also heavier than the earlier one. Uh, Yes, we have already discussed the scientific methods we try to use at the site for identifying those things. See the results of X-ray. If you see the mud lump, we have done the X-ray and we got the copper lining inside and the nails in the same distance at interval. And some of the burial pot below the burial pot, we got the mat impression also. See the nails, the kind of nails we got in the excavation, the geometrical pattern you can see in this X-ray result. So this is the result of CT scan of one of the eight-shape structure. Below, if you see the below area, there is multiple photograph of that. You can see the strips of wooden strips tied with copper nails at the corner itself. So that is the structure of the shield. So various type of shield we got in the excavation. This is probably the helmet of that. This is the copper mirror and various type of toiletry object we got in the excavation. See the possibly impression of liquid. You can see the inside of one of the pot, one smaller pot over there in the base for taking out the liquid from that bigger pot. So this is another interesting finding. And we have done the excavation at the site, habitational site also, very close to the burial uh, burial site. It's just close to the burial site. Multiple furnaces were excavated. If you see that furnaces, everything were there, very intact. The outlet, inlet, and the side wall, the inside sediment, possibly the all weaponry and the inlays crafted here itself. That is not bought from any other place. So that's another interesting part to correlate. Yes, we try to do the sequential reconstruction of the entire burial process for the first time in any of the excavation. Uh, we try to visualize right from the digging and preparation of pit, performance of ritual, burying of pit, and subsequently earth pressure from the top, followed by decomposition, deterioration of the burial goods, and superimposition of the later activity. Though archaeological excavation, we try to understand the sequential reconstruction of every event related to the excavated remains. Every excavation need pre-visualization of on the basis of earlier excavation. Their review in concern of the excavation and strategy accordingly. But the most of the cases, we only review cultural strata and ignore other important information. In the present excavation, we try to review all available data related to the burial process and the site in relation with the surrounding site also, keeping an understanding of all above said factor. We decided that this is the following reconstruction. First, we have the funeral process of dead body from home to cemetery. Then priests perform last rituals, last ceremonies like purifying of body, covering of cloth, etc. in the sacred chamber. So that was probable use of the sacred chamber. And at the same time, preparation of the pit, uh, and they also prepared the floor of the pit sometime and the side wall of the pit also. First of all, uh, 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 first of all, they have lowered the coffin in the center of the pit, and important precious grave goods arranged beneath the coffin. Post arranged, arranged near the head, pots arranged near the head and all around the body. After that, weaponry, furniture were arranged. Finally, the chariot placed in one corner. Filling of pit started from the center of the pit. After earth filling, food and meat of sacrificed animal offered to the dead. Probably a mud tumuli or wooden superstructure were also made over it. So this is the entire process. Probably we try to determine uh, uh, in the same time. If you see the literary references, uh, there is a reference of Agni Dagdha, meaning of burnt with the fire, and Anagni Dagdha, meaning dead body not burned with the fire, and Udigdha, meaning exposure to the element, as two other method of disposing of the dead. Uh, so there is a lot of reference in the Rig Veda and later Rig Vedic text also. So in the chariot itself, there is some of the suktas also having mention of the chariot, like Rath Vahana Havirasya Nam Yatra Nudhang Nihit Masya Varm Tatra Rath Mupang Shagmang Sadem Vishwaha Vayang Sumnasyamana. Cart bearer is the name of his oblation, where one can let this weapon and his armor. Uh, so, and also the bird and animals association of birds and animals were also there in reference in Artha Veda and other Vedic texts. So, yes, the relation of this entire cultural relation of the burial found in the Sanoli excavation, we can clearly uh, say that this is related with the OCP copper hoard culture of Ganga Yamuna Doab. And in the same culture, we got the anthropomorphic figure in various places, and copper anthropomorph recovered in the various places associated with the copper hoard that can be relate with the uh, uh, iconographic cults worship tradition of Indian context in Chalcolithic period. In nutshell, we can say this is the largest necropolis of Chalcolithic period. Material culture can be related with the Vedic tradition and the ancient Indian literature such as Rig Veda and later Vedic tradition. This is probably the highly sophisticated organized culture uh, as per the material recovered from the graves. The roots of early historic culture can be traced in this finding. We can relate the early historic uh, excavation. Uh, as you can see, this zone having rich timber, uh, so probably they have used the timber architecture instead of the brick and other mud brick architecture. See, the artifacts related to this culture, you can see the great Indian warriors, or you can say the great Indian warriors having all weaponry with them, the very advanced weaponry that is unparalleled to the ancient world. And the harpoons and antenna swords, double axe, and variety of weapons. You can see the bow and arrow and all that. So this is very highly sophisticated culture with designated or separate warrior class. See, these are the system we have adopted to lift it out and cut it out, excavated material at the site and try to pull it off with the hydraulic cranes and take out very in situ without any disturbing the structure and so this process we have adopted because this site the site is below the ground level, so it's a very vulnerable that is not possible that if we can left it out there itself, that is not survive at least even in 1 or 2 months at the site, because that area is very harsh, having good amount of rainfall and heat and even cold. So we have decided to lift it out from that side and put it on the public display or preserve it at institute premises. Uh, Thanks to everyone for patient listening. And I think one of the question we got that mm, what was the wood of the coffin and chariot? Uh, but it's a very difficult to identify the species of wood or the variety of wood because everything is fully decomposed. But yes, we have little remains in the hilt of the chariot. So decomposed wood, which is converted into mud, we try to do the chemical analysis and we got that yes, this is decomposed wood, but the actual species cannot be determined yet. So thank you very much. Yes, again, thank you very much, first of all, to all of you. And there is some specific questions I'd like to answer that questions. First, uh, whether it's indigenous ethnic groups, yes, Probably this is indigenous ethnic group. Mm, if you see that particular culture related to OCP copper hoard culture dated back to 2500 BCE to 1600, 1700 BCE. There is a lot of sites in Upper Ganga Yamuna Doab. So particularly in the Sanoli, we have the C14 dates of 2100 BC to 1800 BCE. That shows that the long period settlement at the site itself. So that is confirmed in the uh, excavation at settlement as well as superimposition of the burial in 2005-6. There is three-phase burial we got in the excavation in 2005-6, and the similar three-phase deposition we have excavated at settlement site. So that very clearly shows that the long settlement of ethnic group at the site. So yes, we have done the successful full analysis of DNA also, but yet to be received the result of DNA. So later on, we will publish the DNA report also. Uh, but uh, if you see the development phase or well-developed process and the settled life of that uh, at the Sanoli itself, very clearly shows this is the local indigenous people. Uh, Uh, if you see another question, whether the chariot dated back to so actually at the pinpoint, if you see the chariot we have got in the burial, that burial dated back to the 1900 BCE around. There is several date, three dates in fact. But if you see the mean of that is 19th century BCE, the chariot of 1900 BCE. But that if you see the development process, that may be the early chariot also there in the burial or at the site. But it's a difficult to find out apart from the burial which do not having any copper decoration at wooden structure. So it's a really difficult task to excavate, to understand the structure of the coffin. But yes, we have very much evidence of decomposition, decomposed wood at the site, maybe in the form of various type of furniture. But it's that was not possible to expose at in the same elevation or same shape and size. Yeah. So that was a difficulty to find out the chariot. Maybe in the earlier excavation also having the similar kind of furnitures in the burial pit, but it's not possible to expose and identify. Another questions is article. There is any article available? Yes, one preliminary article available in Puratattva, and also one article, Hindi article published in by ICHR, and now some of the one or two article published very soon in journals itself. Any other questions? Okay, now I think uh, Yes. Now, one of another questions is horn deity motif. Didn't exist similar of Harappan? Yes. Uh, Actually, if you see the horn deity is very popular in Harappan also. At the seal, the horn deity you can see wearing horn headgear. Uh, 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 Depiction on the seal also, and some of the pottery, the Bukranian design, like similar kind of horn were there in the Bukranian design in Harappan. So very almost in the contemporary culture, possibly these type of tradition were there in the contemporary settlement or contemporary culture, either in the Harappan or in the other context also. Uh, if anybody want to ask any of the questions, kindly uh, ask questions so we can elaborate that part, which has not elaborated in the my lecture because time is very short, and that time every aspect cannot be incorporated in the lecture. So every aspect needs a separate lecture, like if you want to talk on the shield or in the helmet or weapons, copper weapons uh, in the larger context that need a separate lecture or separate discussion on that, because the manufacturing technique particular weaponry is very important to understand the cultural relation with the contemporary other culture. Because if you see that this particularly weaponry like antenna sword having the medial ridge in the sword and also the antenna, which is the only example you can find out in the copper hoard itself, that is not there in the Harappan or any of the culture. So that technique of making sword is with the OCP or copper hood culture itself. Another interesting methodology, if you see, they have used uh, the pure gold, pure silver, and pure copper in the weapon also. Uh, uh, if you see the purity of the metal, they have not mixed any of the metal in copper. So somebody questions me that whether pure copper is good for the weapon or the bronze is harder than the copper. So why they have not used bronze for making of the weaponry or weapons like sword, antenna sword, etc. So they, if you see the technique of metallurgy, and particularly copper hoard, uh, uh, the pure copper or copper is good for the weapons, in fact. So they try to develop the hardness with the medial ridge as well as the forging technique of the copper. So they have developed hardness with the technique of forging technique or manufacturing technique. So if the copper weapons can be reused by part of one war and another war. So, but in case of the bronze, if bronze is broken, you can re-smelt those things. Remaking is necessary. But in case of the copper weapons, you can repair these very effectively during the war itself or the long war of 10 days or 20 days. They try to repair every day. So this technology is moreover better than the bronze technique in the weapons. So that is the reason possibly they use pure copper in the weaponry of the copper hoard culture. Any other questions from the audience? Very interesting question. Dog burial is not designed. Actually, that is buried in the burial itself, separate burial, having full skeleton of dog, along with the other burial goods in the excavation. So that is another interesting. Apart from the dog burial, we got the birds and some big cattle also in the excavation, possibly for the offering. But the cattle burial were not there, but some of the fragmentary bones were there in the burial itself. Possibly they have offered the some part of the cattle bone to the uh, uh, dead. Yes, another question, are those ceramic OCP type? Yes, if you see the habitational site, there is a lot of OCP type ceramic recovered from the that side, along with the burial type of pottery. Even in the burial pottery, there is red wash there in the top of the body. But if you see the inner fabric of the pottery, that is very similar to the OCP pottery, usual OCP pottery. That is, if you just rub the pottery, you can find out in your hand there is impression of the ochre color and in the hand. Yes, another question is amalgamation between Harappan and Copper hoard people notice in Sonoli. No, there is no amalgamation at all. If you see, there is no such Harappan, typical Harappan object were there in the burial goods. Although you can trace some of the element of similar to Harappan, that is not Harappan, but similar to Harappan, like if you see the beads, carnelian beads and other semi-precious bead. They may bought from the Harappan civilization through trade contact and all that. But if you see the statite bead and paste bead, the making process is entirely different from the Harappan. So that shows the indigenous making of paste and statite bead, but semi-precious stones are not available in this region. So they bought from possibly from the contemporary settlement from Harappan, because there is lot of settlement all around, like Hulas and other also having superimposition of Harappan and Harappan culture were there in this upper Ganga Yamuna Doab. So it's a possible that there is contact with the other culture. But if you see the grave pottery, there is no such Harappan pottery is not available in the grave. Why I am quite sure that if you see the contemporary site of Rakhigadi, Kalibanga or Binjor or any other site, in the last phase, which is dated back to the 19th century BCE or 2000 BCE, the similar type of pottery is not there. That is there in the burial. This is also dated back to 2100 BCE to 1800 BCE. And other site also, Harappan site also having 1900 BCE, which has the settlement from early Harappan to late phase of Harappan. But that pottery is not similar with this. Because this is very close settlement to Rakhigadi, to 200 kilometer away from this area that is not similar to that. So this is entirely different pottery assemblages, and also apart from the pottery, the metallurgy, statite and paste bead making, the whole burial system. Yes, the traditionally there is some similarity, but that is not as Harappan. The brick size is also not there in the Harappan brick size. So I'm quite sure that this is not linked with the directly linked with the Harappan, although they have the contact with the Harappan itself. Uh, the finding of a spoked wheel in Indian context, only we have the spoke wheel in the depiction of Sanchi, Bodh Gaya, and other railings, and the physical finding in early historic period itself from Patliputra, one of the wooden spoked wheel recovered from Patliputra that is displayed in the Patna Museum at present. But in the early Chalcolithic period, there is no such remains recovered in anywhere. It's a actually first discovery of wheel or the chariot wheel in the excavation. Another question was the horse is absent in the excavation. Yes, there is no remains we got in the excavation of horse, but only what we try to do. We try to do the statistic of the chariot in the world context. It's a very similar to the horse chariot itself. And if you see the pole and the yoke and the size of the chariot shows that it's a horse chariot. It's not a driven with bull and ox, because that has the bigger yoke and heavier pole uh, uh, needed for the ox and the bull chariot. So it's a possible that this is only yoked with horse only. But the question arises whether the horse, indigenous horse, is there in this region or anywhere in the Indian subcontinent. Yes, we have the indigenous horse for five variety of horse in the hills of Ladakh and uh, uh, the Himachal Valley. The horse were there. Even in the northeast, also having indigenous horse. Uh, uh, in archaeological context, there is a lot of remains of horse occurred in the excavation of Kalibanga, having some uh, uh, dental remains of horse, Surkotida, and even in the Ganga Valley Chalcolithic site like Koldhiva having horse remains. So there is horse remains were available in the Chalcolithic period around 2000 BCE. The question related to iron. It's a really debatable question at this moment. I'm not dealing with iron object in this excavation. There is no iron remains recovered from this excavation. But if you see the Ganga Valley, we have the evidence of iron in 17th, 18th century BCE at some of the site. So it shows, if you see one of the site in MP, near Khajuraho, we got the similar type of weapon along with the copper weapon as well as the iron weapon of similar to the this copper hod weapon. So the gradual development maybe occurred in middle Ganga plain development with the iron itself, tool making in the iron itself. Yes, you can contact with my mail. My mail is available, and certainly you can call me anytime. And if you want any of the query, or if you send me the message on Facebook or WhatsApp, uh, I'm very happy to reply all those query of you. Thank you very much, all of you. Uh, Stay at home, safe, uh, you and your family. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.